Hello, good evening. Hello. I'm here tonight. I told you guys I'd be back after the speech from First Lady Melania Trump. And tonight I have a special guest, and his name is Jarrett Hill. And you'll find out why Jarrett Hill is with me. I'm looking for him, and Jarrett's coming on very soon. But guys, I need you guys to tell us what you thought about the First Lady's speech. Have you been watching the RNC? It's a lot to talk about tonight. It's a lot to talk about. Jarrett, there's my Jarrett. He's ringing the doorbell. Guys, we're gonna lay it out. Um, hey Jarrett.
Hello, my dear.
How you doing?
Whew, what a night.
I know. So, guys, for you who don't know, Jarrett Hill is you said, oh God, it was the truth. I love me some Jarrett. He has got such a special mind. Jarrett is the man who realized that was about 4 years ago. Yeah, it was 4 years ago.
4 years ago, a month ago, yeah.
4 years ago, that Melania Trump had plagiarized Michelle Obama's speech. So that is why we have Jarrett on tonight, and we got a lot of people. Let's unpack this. First of all, I think she did better the night that she stole the words from the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. It looked like the president was even falling asleep. he was blinking a lot. That's just me. But let's start from the beginning. First of all, she changed the Rose Garden.
Mm-hmm.
She changed the iconic Rose Garden that looks now bland. It looks like Versailles. It's very bland. Landscape. When people need money, she's going to find money to do that. She had a backdrop that was very bland. She comes out, does this long work. You know, she's a model. That's her strength, to walk a runway. So the colonnade at the White House was her runway. Someone said, come on, April, be best. I am best. So anyway, and the outfit that she had, I don't think it was for the night. But first of all, let's talk about this. The Hatch Act. This White House, once again, is breaking the rule of law. You are not supposed to use that White House.
At the Law and Order Convention.
At the Law and Order Convention. You're not supposed to use the White House, the People's House, for political gain like this.
And can I point out there, just to pause you, we saw them issue a pardon for purely political reasons in the White House.
And a naturalization ceremony for what?
And to grant citizenship to people in the White House for purely political reasons. Like,
I don't have a problem with doing that in the right space, the right place, and the right time. But don't do it to make us feel like, oh, you're a great person. If you weren't doing it before, don't do it now.
Right.
So the theatrics were on fleek. They were on fire tonight. This was entertaining. And but it's sad because, like you said, the Law and Order White House, the Law and Order President is breaking the Hatch Act. You're not supposed to do it. And the First Lady is now using the Rose Garden. That used to be so cute. It had pops of color. It's so bland now. As her backdrop. Her colors matched.
She knew what she was doing.
And you said it was military. Her style was military inspired.
Yeah, it was definitely a military kind of, a military green with the military like kind of architecture on the top. I think what was most interesting to me is that like the first thing she came out and spoke about was the 2016 speech, right? Very first thing that she referenced was the convention last year. And I thought that was a really bold choice.
The convention 4 years ago.
Exactly, in 2016, where she plagiarized the speech from Michelle Obama. I thought that was really rich, but I also thought it was very Trumpy. The Trumps have such a long
in your
history.
face.
Exactly, right? Of taking their biggest weaknesses and taking that and making it the thing that they project as their strength. And we've seen them do that, you know, since he came down the escalator and probably even before that. But all throughout this convention, I found that to be interesting, like how diverse it is. But when you look at that White House, when you look at that cabinet, when you look at those interns, when you look at those policies, you look at those rallies. So like they have a history of like taking their biggest weaknesses and acting as if they are strengths. And that was
Trying to embrace
strong
them,
to me.
trying to embrace them, yeah.
Right. It was strong to me that that was what you came out and did immediately. You first come out talking about the 2016 convention.
Mm. Um, Someone said, "What is Melania first in?"
Well, can I jump on that because I tweeted about this as well. I thought it was really interesting. They played that video of her that came before her speech, right?
And they do those they do those entrance videos at traditional conventions
Right.
to build up the entrance of the principal that's coming out to speak. So
But
that's not
April,
new.
but tell me what they said she'd accomplished other than a social media campaign, renovating the Rose Garden last week or unveiling it,
And that
and
was
being
towards the end. That was towards
and
the
being
end.
incredible, right? Because so much
Be
of it was
best, be best.
so much of it was like, oh, she's so fabulous, oh, she's so wonderful. It's like you ran a social media campaign that your husband won't even participate in,
Hmm.
right? And you redid a Rose Garden, and you've been incredible, whatever that means. Like they didn't even have like a list of things that they could say she's accomplished. And if we're just like comparing her to the previous administration, there were so many things with the troops, with food and children in schools and all kinds of different things. I just thought that was special. I'll put it that way.
So what I find interesting is that she brought up women several times. She brought up suffrage, the century of women's suffrage. She brought up how we are mothers and how we have to guide our children, the issue of bullying.
Mm.
And I said, it just smacks in the face to me of how President Trump treats women. You know, he's talking about women and suffrage when he's suppressing the vote. And look at the women that he talks nasty to. Kamala Harris, nasty, nasty women. Me, Kamala Harris, Maxine Waters, so many women. What do you make of that?
I think about, you know this, you will know this better than I, but like I think about the way that they try to have themes for each of these things, right? And each of these nights they're trying to pull out all of these themes. And I talked about diversity earlier. I think it's interesting the ways that they are able to take their weaknesses and use them as strength. And like the idea that that Pam Bondi got up there and talked about nepotism, right? When two of his kids spoke tonight, and then his wife. And like, I just thought that was interesting. Like,
And Eric Trump was like, "Dad, this is for you, Dad." I was like, "Oh, you want your daddy to know you love him. You need
right. It's
yeah,
just,
you want positioning, yeah."
so when I think about themes, right? Like they talked about nepotism, they a lot of fear, right? But then for her to get up and talk about like families and children and you know being a great mother and all of those different things, it's like, where are you on these things? Like, how are we not seeing you show up in these different ways when it comes to your own family, right? Like your own family is one of those families that is really, really controversial for being so dysfunctional and having such a dysfunctional head. We see you always swatting your hand away from the president when he goes to reach for your hand, but you guys are
Oh, they held hands tonight.
they
They held hands when they walked back to the residence. Because normally she's like this, and I'm like, oh.
it's just it's bizarre in so many different ways to see them talk about family when they are just such a weird one.
Dysfunctional at its height.
Absolutely.
Dysfunctional at the height. With girlfriends screaming in tight red dresses. I was like, Kim Guilfoyle. I was like, whatever her last name is. I was like, oh my gosh.
Kim is such a piece of work. Like Kim, that speech last night, I was joking on Instagram earlier today that like, you know, this country already feels like a cross between like a Jordan Peele movie and, you know, The Purge, right? And to see her up there like this was the Hunger Games or something like that, it's eerie. It makes you feel uncomfortable.
And you know, it's not coincidence that news media, except for Fox, are fact checking and critiquing this because, again, there's breaking of the rule of law with the naturalization ceremony, with the pardoning, and with this moment with the First Lady. making her speech from the Rose Garden. The White House is the people's house. It's not about a political party one-upping. If Barack Hussein Obama and Michelle Obama did this, I guarantee you Mitch McConnell would have hauled him into jail or something right away. Now, let's get to the race issue. She hit it on a couple of occasions, Jarrett. She talked about the racial tension, and she talked about, when she took the trip to Africa, she went to a slave house. She said, never again, let us remember, and all this stuff. I said, wow, isn't that interesting?
No, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Oh, talking about race is one of those things that is so interesting to me. I thought to myself, did you really find a black ex-convict to come pardon with his best friend, the FBI agent that arrested him?
It reminded, go ahead. It reminded me of the white savior situation.
Absolutely, right? So if we're thinking about themes throughout the night that she then, really encapsulates at the end, it's like this idea that like, oh, we just love black people. Did you see the ones that we brought out tonight? We gave a pardon to that black. You know what I mean? Like the idea that she went to Africa, like it's so absurd.
She kept with the themes of the night. Now, the pardon, I said, guys, we have to use critical thinking. There was strategic placement of a black man who befriended the FBI agent who took him to Christ. It was this white savior moment in my mind.
100%.
And I was like, what in the world? And then this naturalization ceremony. We didn't see anyone from Norway, Sweden, or Russia up in there, did we? We saw everyone from the S-hole nations. Once again, trying to reverse, embracing the wrong that you did, trying to reverse the picture or the optics or what's in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
We're not stupid.
100%.
We're not stupid. So if you say this stuff, we remember we have videotape. Do you think we're stupid?
That is probably like the most pervasive question is like, do y'all realize this is on tape? Like we have all of this, but I also think it's important to remember like who their audience is, right? Like
The forgotten man and woman. Eric Trump said that tonight. Who is the forgotten man and woman? Who is it?
Yeah.
Who is it? Let's talk about that.
Well, and that and like last night, the coded language that still spoke to that same thing was about the suburbs, right? We saw the two people. Patty and
the St. Louis couple who had felony charges. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "I live in the suburbs. I'm a chocolate chip out here, and I got my Black Lives Matter sign out here." And my neighbors say, "Oh, I like your sign." They all know, but they won't say nothing to me.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's like the coding, right? So like we see the ways that we're like really trying to push the black agenda. We're gonna have Tim Scott come out and close out the first night. Again, if we're thinking about themes, think about the ways that they have used race in this convention. Yesterday, it took 35 minutes for us to see a white person after the first person up there, right? Like it was like person after person after person of color trying to pretend that they are all about race and inclusion and diversity. But I think it's also important to remember what that cabinet looks like. I always remember the photo of the White House interns, right? When those photos come up, and when we even saw this in 2016 when they had all of the interns for the campaign, and the contrast between the two different campaigns and what they looked like. And so even if we can go all the way back there to this very day, to hear her talk about race, to hear them all really talk about race as if America's answer to the question of what do you have to lose was how much time do we have, right? It's been amazing to me to see the way that they are able to spin that. But I think it's important for us to remember who their audience is. Their audience is the base of 30% people who've always stuck with them, and they've never looked at expanding that. They've never really done anything other than moments like these to try and seem like they want someone else to come and be a part of that coalition.
So I am talking to the great Jarrett Hill. For those of you who don't know, Jarrett Hill is the gentleman, and I'm honored to have you tonight because I just knew you were taken. But Jarrett Hill is the gentleman who realized, he was the only person who realized that something was wrong 4 years ago with Melania Trump's speech at the convention. He said, wait a minute. he said, wait a minute, those are the words that former First Lady Michelle Obama spoke. How did you figure out that Melania Trump had plagiarized Michelle Obama's words in the convention? How did you figure? Because you were the one.
Yeah.
You brought it to national attention. I was like, oh, you did.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about like what I was doing in this moment, 4 years ago as she was speaking. I was sitting in a Starbucks here in Los Angeles, and I was watching it on my computer screen and instant messaging with a friend. And as she was speaking, she got to these words, and it was a moment of like, I always say, like, it's like when you hear a song that you haven't heard in a long time, but like when you hear it, you know the words immediately. And I finished like the last line of the plagiarized piece with her out loud. And I thought, that's weird. And I thought, like, I know Michelle said that in 2008. And I kind of assumed, like, oh, this must have been a thing. So I tweeted it. And, like, a succession of tweets that there followed really kind of exploded. And that biggest tweet was retweeted, 26,000 times or something. And obviously, by the time I got home from Starbucks, they were getting ready to talk about it on MSNBC and on CNN.
Oh, honey, I was like, what? And then there were split screens of what they said. Now, but the question is, how did you know Michelle Obama's speech that succinctly? I mean, and what speech was it from that she plagiarized? Because I was just waiting for her to say, and this White House was built by slaves.
Exactly, right.
I remember that part.
And I love to see my little black daughters playing out on the lawn, right?
I was waiting for that.
Well, so to be honest with you, in the moment, I couldn't tell you how I'd known those words specifically. But a few months later, Facebook always reminds you of things that you posted in years past. And I had posted that part of the speech that I recognized when she says, "We want children in this nation to know that the height of their achievement and the reach of their dreams is their willingness to work for it. Is the extent of their dream and their willingness to work for it." And so I thought that was like such a great line that I posted it on Facebook back in 2008. And so it came back up that I had posted it, and I was like, oh my God, that line actually meant something to me all those years ago. And that's how it came back to me in that moment. Because I don't know the whole speech word for word. I don't know all of her speeches, but I did remember that one little sentence, and that's what came back. And I have to say, like, as a person that is spiritual and a faith and all of that, like, that happened on like the lowest day for me. Like I was having the worst of days, and I had like prayed and been like, you know what? I'll do whatever you want me to do. I just need you to make something pop, right? Like I've been looking for jobs. I've been laid off for a year and a half.
You better be careful what you pray for.
Well, that was proven true that night.
Well, that's amazing. But I really remember the situation where she said, the slave, because I was like, talk it, because we have not seen a Black woman in that space and place. And for her to talk about this White House being built by slaves, and it put it on the map. And then she talked about her children. And it brought tears to my eyes. It resonated with me. So I was just like, okay, here we go. So, and for all of you who are saying, get the Trump supporters up, I allow everyone, as long as it's peaceful here on this IG Live on my platform, I don't have a problem with anyone here, because you know what they do, they go run tell that. And I want them to, because you know what? And if I'm a journalist, but at the end of the day, I'm a human being. And if people have come for me because of the lies that this president has told. So now I'm sitting here chronicling every lie, fact checking, and telling you the truth, as the truth is not coming from the White House. So y'all go run tell that. So anyway, Jarrett, so what other pieces of the First Lady's speech tonight struck you? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I liked her speech before. I didn't like this one as much. I don't know. I don't think it was the rose. I just didn't like her speech. I don't think she was comfortable with it. Number one, she was all over the teleprompter. It was awkward at the beginning. She didn't find the middle. I just didn't feel comfortable with her speech.
That was one of the things that I noted as well, is that she was always off to the side. She didn't look to the camera as much. And in 2016, she obviously looked to the camera a lot more, but they were in a different setting. And it did make me think, like, that's interesting. She's not looking at us. She's kind of looking around. Another part that I found interesting from the moment kind of observation was that the audience didn't applaud, but then like maybe in the last third, like someone started clapping, and then they were like, "Oh, I guess we can clap." But it was weird to me to see them like sitting so close to each other, and there were so few masks, and there are all of these people that
Yeah.
are in the Rose Garden, not sitting 6 feet apart, right? Maybe a couple of feet apart, but like very few masks in those front rows that we could really see. That was troubling to me before as well, because we've never really heard the White House talk about how many people have died. We've not heard them like send their
And she
condolences
brought up
to.
COVID. She brought up COVID. She did bring up COVID.
Exactly. But I mean, again, if we're talking about the way they use their strengths, excuse me, their weaknesses as their strengths, you'll remember yesterday, the first thing that they talked about yesterday was COVID-19, right? In the
Mm-hmm.
opening night of the convention, they talked about COVID. And so she came out and spoke about COVID, and it's really the first time that I can think of that we've heard anyone talk about the people who have died with any sorrow, with any like, with any empathy, with any kind of, we recognize that this happened and we're so sad about it, right? I'm always fascinated by the ways that like this White House, this administration, they do not do empathy, they do not do caring for individuals, but 170,000 plus people are dead. Like, I
And
don't
that's
know
just
how
the
you vote
numbers
on
that
that.
they know for sure.
And that's the numbers that we know for sure, right? How many
Yeah.
people? I know plenty. I can think of multiple of my close friends who have had COVID that were not tested, right? That have not been able to go and get tested, that didn't have access to getting tested or didn't want to go to the hospital because it was so crazy and all of these different things. And so I think to myself, like, for her to come out and speak about COVID, I just thought it was rich.
Disingenuous, some would say.
Yeah.
So what she said it was the invisible enemy. It's impacted all of us, and her husband's administration is working hard on it.
And she called it COVID-19, not the China virus.
And the president called it the China virus last night or tonight. My daughter said, "Oh, was it?" I think it was Eric. My daughter said he called it the China virus. It was out last night. And my days are mixing. But yes, so if you're going to have a convention trying to rally people, not just your base, but independents, you're going to kind of try to be middle of the road, try to bring them in. The convention, Rachel Maddow said something very poignant. The convention in Charlotte is over. This is now entertainment. That's what this is.
Absolutely.
This is illegal, unlawful, breaking the rule of law entertainment from the White House.
From the White House. I think when we even look at Secretary Pompeo speaking tonight, right? He spoke from Jerusalem, and it's like,
and Susan Rice is all upset about that. And my thing is, how much of our money went to pay for all of this at the People's House? It's unlawful. Valerie Jarrett, former senior advisor to President Barack Obama, tweeted about that, about how the Hatch Act is in place, and they have totally just ignored it. So guys, when we are talking this stuff, we need you to do critical thinking, etc., etc., etc. But at the end of the day, I've not really heard many platform issues. I've heard more talk against the Democrats. This is very theatrical. It's very expensive at whose cost. The first lady, people were putting out a video of Putin, how he makes these long walks down aisles. And they said, oh my gosh. I don't know. I think it didn't do so. Even the president was falling asleep. It didn't excite me. A lot of people saying it put them to sleep.
One of the things that you, and I actually just saw someone else saying this in the comments as well, one of the things that you brought up was about the platform and how we've not seen a platform. And there was a lot of discussion last night about how the Republican Party has not put together a platform for this convention, right? Which is extraordinary, because that is the point of the convention, right? We nominate a candidate and we say what we are here for. They don't have a platform. And yesterday, also what was interesting about it was the only like policy thing that we heard them talk about was how he wanted to cut the payroll tax and how that would affect Social Security. And like Forbes came out with an article yesterday saying like their plans for Social Security would bankrupt it by 2023. That wouldn't even get him through a full next term, right? And so it's like, you guys don't even have a platform, and you're just throwing things out here
Throwing things against the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah.
throwing things against the wall to see what sticks. Someone says she talked about, the first lady talked about bullying, and paying attention to children. And I noticed that too. I said, that's true, we do that. But she brought up the issue of bullying. I said, your husband is the biggest bully on social media and in public. So there's so much contradiction here. There's so much contradiction. So Jarrett, I don't know what to say. But all I know is last night I was screaming. Tonight I'm like, oh God, I was cooking while it was going on. I said, let me watch this because it's unfortunate. Going into this, I knew it was going to be a convention of hate.
And fear. Hate and fear and hate and fear. Yeah.
And you can't survive off of that. You
Yeah,
know,
well, but I mean, it's hard to tell Donald Trump that. You know what I mean? Like, because realistically, they continue to use these tactics that have been effective for being able to hold on to people, like whether or not like the conversation about these speeches is often whether or not they're effective, but it's not often about like how much the content is actually accurate, right? In past conventions, we haven't had to think about that so much. Like, but what are they just like telling direct lies about? Whereas in this convention, it's like how effective is it? But then also, are they saying things that are true? And like MSNBC, I have to be honest, I was critical of Fox News and their coverage of the
oh, I'm
Democratic
only
convention.
returned state-run TV, but go ahead.
Well, right. Well, I was curious, like, how are they carrying the Democratic convention? And they ran it in a box off to the side and just talked about all kinds of different things. Then MSNBC, I have to say, they did cut in, but there is we are both journalists, right? There is a bit of responsibility for the platform that you have to at least let people know this piece of
What's true or
information was
not?
not accurate. This piece of information was not accurate. This is what is actually true.
Especially when you are a known liar, you have to do that because the stakes are so high, too
Absolutely.
damn high.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So also, but I want to say this, and I don't want to hold everybody because it's 11:36 at night, and and I'm just so thankful, Jarrett, that you joined me.
Of course.
But I was touched at the beginning of the tonight's convention. The pastor pulled into the prayer, Wisconsin, what's happening with Jacob Blake. Humanity. And that's what we are. So a synopsis of a synopsis. What do you say about First Lady Melania Trump's speech that President Trump was like blinking a lot on?
I think that I think she delivered a completely original speech, which a place to start, right?
Well, for right now we think so. We don't think
From what
she
I
read
can
that from
tell,
Michelle
right?
Obama's speech again. For right now, it could be somebody else's. Who knows? But go ahead.
I would imagine this speech is mostly original. I will say that she had on a nice dress. I will say that her hair seemed to have been done. I don't know how effective this speech is in touching anybody's heart or moving it. I'm not trying to come for her. I'm just saying
People were texting me talking about they were tired. She made them sleepy. I said, oh Lord. Michelle Obama would have been giving us when they go low, we go high. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's the sauce.
I think that's an important thing though. Like if we look at the speech that she gave, like there's no memorable moment that's memorable because it was well written or because it was, really well delivered. If anything, people will remember like style things, right? I always think about that with debates. Like there's style moments that we'll remember, but not substance.
The teleprompter, the long walk, the outfit.
Yeah.
Those are the things. But she had no impacting statement that's going to resonate throughout history.
There's no one watching this. There's no one watching this tonight that's going to be like, you know what? I think this is the ticket for me. After seeing the First Lady speak, I mean,
which
really
one?
In the right
Michelle
direction.
Obama. Okay. It is what it is.
What it is, yeah.
And she said, it's got to be bad to be in someone's shadow.
Mm.
And you didn't resonate on that night. You always want to bring something to the table that stands for history and that just gives you uplift and how-tos. I was just like, okay, President Trump was falling asleep. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there are going to be a lot of moments that we take away from this and say, like, wow, what a great moment. And when we look back at the speeches of first ladies across conventions over time, we will remember her from 2016, but not for the reasons that she would like to be remembered.
And we'll see. She clearly said she wants another 4 years. This has been her happiest 3.5 years. Be best. Be best.
I mean, look, if you had a new post-nuptial agreement, you probably would be I'm not, never mind.
What's in the post number?
I think it was through the duration of this presidency. Okay. I think that was part of it. Like, you can't go nowhere.
So why did Don Lemon just call my phone? I hope he's not trying to get me to come on CNN tonight. I'm going to bed.
Go get on the air. Go get on the air, girl.
He just called me. He probably saw what I was doing on Twitter. I'm like, no, I was saying no.
Listen, because as you're wrapping it up here, I will say we need your thoughtful analysis. We need your experience. We need your wisdom. We need your historical context. We need all that you bring to us. And we really just appreciate you. And like, I have to say, because my dad is probably watching, when he found out that I even knew you, he was like, did you tell her I said hi? I was like,
hey, Dad. No, Dad. How you doing, Dad? What's up, Dad? At 11:40 at night, Dad. You have a great son. Well, guys, I'm telling you, we just unpacked as much as we could. It wasn't what we were.
Wasn't much meat on that bone, right?
No. I didn't even, in the South, they work a bone. We worked it as much as we could. It wasn't even meat. It was like not even the marrow in the bone. So my aunt will suck the marrow. She will work about from the South, guys. You don't know if you don't know about So with that said, I gotta call Don Lemon back and see what he wants. If he wants me tonight, I gotta get some coffee. So
listen, I hear you. You got work.
Well, Jarrett, once again, this is Jarrett Hill, the gentleman who realized that Melania Trump had plagiarized Michelle Obama's words 4 years ago. And we just critiqued her less than stellar speech. Nothing impactful.
I think that's a nice way to put it. Yes.
Nothing iconic except for that outfit.
It was a good outfit.
It was a good outfit for another night. She matched the Rose Garden, the new renovated Rose Garden. But with that, y'all, peace, my brother. Vote. Love you, Jarrett. Thank you.
I love you. Great to see you.
I love you. Be good. Guys, I will see you tomorrow night with Albie Shoa at 6 p.m. Yes, at 6 p.m. Eastern for COVID Conversation. Yes, Jarrett, tune in.
I will. Don't you worry. Bye.
All right, guys. See you later. I got to see what Don Lemon wants. Bye.